who I will often say we all owe a debt of gratitude to for their tireless war on exposing the manipulation of the market. I love those guys. Chris Powell often says there are no free markets anymore, just manipulations. And so you have to understand, I mean, you can point to the JP Morgan $920 million fine to the Justice Department for manipulating the market, that gold and silver are manipulated, right? First and foremost, they are suppressed. Why are they suppressed? They have originally been suppressed, in my mind, because they are the mirror image of the Western system. They are the kryptonite to the dollar. They are the antithesis of the system. And rising gold and silver are not rising commodities. They are an indication of the fragility, if you will, of the Western system. It's like the Wizard of Oz, the little old frail man behind the curtain with the booming voice is exactly what it is. And so when gold and silver rise, it speaks to the fragility of the system. But what betrays the price is the massive drawdown of supply that we are seeing, not only from the London Metals Exchange, but also from the COMEX, and being backdoored out of all of the world's ETFs by the most influential, well-informed, sophisticated, well-funded traders on the globe. All of these deals, whether it be taking possession of huge amounts off of the ETFs, which you have to take massive amounts and be very sophisticated, or taking deliveries off of COMEX or the LME, again, massive amounts, very sophisticated, not easy to do. This type of withdrawals or departures from the COMEX and the LME ecosystem, from the ETFs, not only diminishes each of those sites, diminishes great liquidity, but it speaks to it being a one-way ticket. It's leaving, it's front running by the sophisticated people. What betrays the price pullback is the amount of deliveries that we are seeing off of COMEX and the LME and the ETFs. So the price is a tool of misdirection, and it's difficult for people to understand that. Going back to what we said in part one, the people who came during silver squeeze are not used to this volatility. Gold and silver are heavily manipulated. Silver has the largest concentrated short position on the COMEX of any currency, or excuse me, any commodity traded. So it speaks to the importance of gold and silver when they use that much effort to suppress it, and even more so when you see the massive amount of deliveries. And people say, well, why isn't the price going higher? It is because the ability of the cartel banks, the commercial banks, who are probably doing it at the behest of the central banks, the US perhaps, to mitigate the price rise by levered futures contracts. If I use COMEX to hedge my position, and in doing so, just the other day, I asked my head trader, how much money do we need to have in our margin account to control a 100-ounce gold contract? And it was a few weeks ago, it was about $7,000. So if I have $7,000 in my margin account, for just a few dollars, I can buy a 100-ounce gold contract, right? What if I'm a commercial bank or a central bank or a sovereign wealth fund with $500 million that I put in my margin account? I can create a perception of reality that can drive down the paper price. And when everyone is bummed out and looking at licking their wounds and looking to other alternatives because gold and silver are not doing what they're supposed to be doing in the midst of 40-year high inflation and geopolitical chaos and idiocy in our own administration, they get disenchanted. And so that gives the ability of these cartel banks to scoop it all up and pull the real thing in at subsidized prices and then just paper over their short positions with freshly created money. So I'm making it a little bit more simplistic than it truly is, but the point of the matter is that the biggest money in the world is using the suppression of the paper price of gold and silver to accumulate it all before the public catches on, because the public is only keenly aware of the price and not of the fundamentals, because the media doesn't tell us about the fundamentals. A lot of things we talked about in episode one, most of the people, the mainstream, wouldn't even know that gold is tier one, wouldn't know about the Belt Road Initiative, wouldn't know that Russia and Saudi Arabia signed a joint military cooperation agreement, wouldn't know about the BRICS currencies all joining together and having it backed by gold. I mean, on and on and on and on. Wouldn't even be able to talk to you about the weaponizing of the dollar because it's not talked about in the media. So When they see the price, that's all that they see. They don't open up the hood to see that it's a squirrel on a wheel chasing a nut running the car. Car looks great on the outside, but you lift up the hood, it's not so great. The analogy I used before, the wizard behind the curtain, the big booming voice and the smoke and the fire, and it's a little old man. Same thing. And that's really the issue with gold and silver. It is being accumulated by the most sophisticated, well-funded, well-informed people on the globe, and they are using price as the ultimate tool of misdirection.